All right, guys. So let's start this thing right. We're gonna start this off in the 12-minute mark of this live stream right now because you guys know I'm very much coherent with timestamps. So here we go. Stream starts. All right. So here we go, guys. Now, Conor McGregor and Max Holloway are going to be signed to fight at UFC 329 July 11, 2026 at the T-Mobile Arena. All right. So yes, Aaron Maga says McGregor will end Max Holloway's career. Okay, very interesting take right there. Victory says, finally. He says, Aaron Maga says, I was patiently waiting. Yes. Well, guys, what is it that I mean when I say what comes up must come down? Okay, well, if Conor loses, he will meet Max Holloway on his way down as he has met them and successfully defeated them previously on his way up. Okay, now how Shakespearean is that reality? Okay, he says the best part is that Chandler doesn't get the Conor fight. Oh my goodness, man. Michael Chandler is probably in his house right now singing along to Creed songs while he's looking at himself in the mirror, just, really upset and probably breaking the mirror as we speak right now, right? And obviously, you guys know as Muslims, we don't believe in bad luck. So, even if Michael Chandler was to break that mirror, right, it would not somehow affect his luck one way or the other. So something to think about right there, right? You know, we don't believe in superstitions as Muslims. Johnny Dong says, "Sup, hello, Johnny Dong. How are you, my man?" No Diddy and how I say your name. But anyways, Victory says driving the new Bentley that his wife bought him with his own money. LOL. Well, you know what? It's the thought that counts, right? Because if you think about it, how else are spouses able to buy each other's gifts, right? I would imagine most spouses have a joint account in some kind of way, right? And meaning that you guys already are married, so whatever it is that you make or she makes, it's all yours together. But anyways, yes, I did see that. Yes, I thought it was quite funny. And of course, even with an innocent post like that, people are going to turn it around and talk about McGregor. They're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, you didn't get the McGregor fight. But okay, yeah, you got the Bentley, but you didn't get the McGregor fight. So that's kind of like, yeah, one of them things, right? So let's think about this, right? The first time these two fought, okay, they were completely different men, okay, as in comparison to today. I think Max Holloway may have just I think Max Holloway was able to get better just by attrition alone. Just by attrition alone, Max Holloway got better. What do I mean by that? Well, let me explain in a second. All right. So, attrition. Let's talk about attrition, right? Because when we're talking about attrition, we're talking about the career of Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. Okay, so this is how we're gonna analyze this. Right, number one, let's take a look at where Max Holloway and Conor McGregor have been in their career. Sorry about that. A little bit of a volume issue there. Let me know if you guys are hearing me. Okay, just wanted to make sure that the volume was right. Okay, John Dong says, "What if Aljo somehow gets a title shot? Volkanovski illegally knees him, and Aljo gets the belt again." Uh, shot. That is an absolute reality if you think about it, right? If you really think about it, John Dong, that actually can be a reality. Uh, but what are the chances of that happening, right? Okay, there's a good chance that they get the fight, right? They get the fight going, they fight each other, and the next thing um, different sequences happen. But I don't know if that is the case, right? I don't see Volkanovski putting himself in situations of illegal knees or anything like that. Although Peter Yan was a different case and a different story, but yeah, man. I don't know, man. That would be strange, right? But I highly doubt that would happen. He says, "Do you think that the UFC would rather give Aljo versus Movzar the title shot? Would rather give Aljo or Movzar the title shot?" Uh well, Aljo does have the name, right? He has the name value. The thing with Movzar, my man, is that it's so hard to justify giving him a title shot based on the fact that he doesn't finish guys, right? Speaking of finishing people, we're gonna talk about Conor McGregor and Max Holloway in a second, right? Just basically to talk about how it is that how Conor McGregor finishes people and how Max Holloway goes to a decision a lot. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry with a little bit of the dead air. I had to, kind of mute. But anyways, okay. So the difference between Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, right, is as it follows. Over the years, Conor McGregor was used to knocking people out, while Max Holloway was getting all types of decisions. Right now, who benefits from this the most? I'm going to say Max Holloway. You want to know why? Because of all the rounds that Max Holloway has put in. One thing that I like about Max Holloway, right? He says that he doesn't spar. I like this idea. Let me tell you why, right? The reason why I like this idea is because you need to preserve all of your brain cells for the actual fight, like real live fire, right? Like why waste real bullets when you can use fake bullets or practice bullets, right? That's sort of the concept that Max Holloway is, operating under. So, all right, he's getting all these rounds in. He's not finishing a lot of guys. He's gotten finished a couple of times, right? But so has Conor McGregor, right? The Charles Oliveira fight, he loses to a decision. Dustin Poirier wins by decision, gets knocked out by Ilya Tapora, knocks out Justin Gaethje in the last second, obviously. Jung Chang, the Sung fight, third round finish. He goes to a decision against Allen, goes to a decision against Volkanovski. So think about this, right? From the time of, let's just start from January of 2021, right? Um, he's been getting split decisions. Look at this. From the time that Conor McGregor has been inactive, right? So let's say 2019. Okay? Let's say about 2019. He says confirmed woohoo, looking forward to this one. Yes, yes. I think that they're going to announce it in one of the UFC events coming up, probably during the fight week of Kamzat and Sean Strickland. That's going to be a big weekend. Obviously, they're also going to have the press conference for the White House card and the White House fight. But nonetheless, all right. So let's take a look at the career trajectory of Max Holloway in comparison to Conor McGregor, right? So right now, we're looking at the record of Max Holloway from, let's start from April 2019, right? The Dustin Poirier loss that he had, okay? And then he ended up meeting Dustin Poirier again, which he ended up winning in that exchange, right? Now, in comparison to Conor McGregor, let's go back to his career, his record, his mixed martial arts record in 2019. Okay, well, there's nothing to speak of in 2019 because if you look at his record right here, right, there's a huge gap between the fights that Conor McGregor had and Max Holloway had. Okay, um, let me show you by example right here. Hold on a second. Let me get this record up right here real quick. Okay, so let's go back to the record here. Okay, so let's see. We got Max Holloway from 2019. Okay, who did he fight in 2019? He fought Dustin Poirier in April 2019. Where was Conor McGregor in 2019? So we're basically following a 6 to 7 year span of where their career trajectory has been, right? From 2019 onward. So if you look, Conor McGregor only fought in 2020. Okay, and then 2021 was the last time that he fought both in January and July, which he both got finished, right? So by 2019, Dustin Poirier beats Max Holloway, right? 2019. And then he goes and fights Frankie Edgar. That's a 5 round unanimous decision for Max Holloway beating Frankie Edgar. He fights Volkanovski twice, both of them a total of 10 rounds. Okay, and then Calvin Kattar gets a decision. Yair Rodriguez gets a decision. And now we're at 2021. Okay, look at all the rounds that he's put in comparison to Conor McGregor by 2021, right? Yair, 5 rounds. Another Alexander Volkanovski fight, 5 rounds. Arnold Allen, 5 rounds. Sung, third round finish. Okay, that's putting rounds in. Justin Gaethje, 5 rounds. Okay, Ilya Tapora gets knocked out by 3, no big deal. Bounces back, rematches Dustin Poirier, beats Dustin Poirier this time, right? So you're thinking if Conor McGregor can't even get through Dustin Poirier, how is Conor McGregor going to get through Max Holloway, who just recently beat him in July 19, 2025? And then goes 5 rounds with Charles Oliveira. No shame in that. Charles Oliveira was doing a classic lay and pray. All right? So that's what we got going on. And then going back with Conor, his last 2 fights were at 2021, and that is a gap. That is a literal gap of how many years? How many years is that? From 2021 to 2026. 5 year gap, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? That is a 5 year gap we already have going on. And this right here seems like a real guaranteed win for Max Holloway. I just don't see it any other way. Do you guys see it any other way? Let me know on a comment section if you guys see it any other way, right? Because I don't. I honestly and sincerely don't see it any other way than Charles Oliveira. I'm sorry, than Max Holloway, who's coming off of a loss from Charles Oliveira, doing the business. I just don't really see it any other way. All right, so let's talk about how the only way Conor McGregor can get a win off of this one, right? The only way that Conor McGregor can get a win is if he does it early and finishes him straight away. All right, that is what he needs to do. He needs to finish Conor McGregor straight away into the first round. If he doesn't do that, if he doesn't finish Conor McGregor in the first round, quite honestly, he's going to have his hands full in the third round, in the fourth round, in the fifth round. It's going to get harder. It's going to get really hard and difficult for Conor McGregor to get it done if he doesn't do it within the first couple of rounds. I mean, let me know if you guys think any different on the chat. All right. So you guys understand, right? First round is the only way Conor McGregor can get this win. He can't win any other way. It is impossible for Conor McGregor to win any other way because he has not put in the rounds yet. He can't win any. He hasn't put in the rounds to do it, and so he's going to have a very difficult time even getting close to Max Holloway by the third, fourth, or fifth round. He just doesn't have the gas tank. He historically never had the gas tank. Conor McGregor has always been a front runner type of fighter. Always been a front runner type of fighter, right? He has never been the type of fighter that will, I don't know, take it to 5 rounds. Although he did in a Nate Diaz fight. If you guys remember, when Conor McGregor fought Nate Diaz, man, that was literally 10 years ago. Can you imagine? 2016 was now 10 years ago, guys. All right? And that was probably the last time that Conor McGregor went to a decision ever in his in his MMA career. Other than, guess what? Here's a trivia for you guys. Besides Nate Diaz, who else has Conor McGregor went to a decision with? It was a young Hawaiian fighter by the name of Max Holloway back in August of 2013 in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay? Which is the picture that you are seeing on the thumbnail. All right. Drizzy Goat says a protest by KO, bro. That's what I'm putting my money on. He's going to do something Islam couldn't do, which is finish JDM. I think you're going to realize why Islam Makhachev was not able to finish JDM, right? Now, obviously, he was able to neutralize him, take him down at will, and keep him there. And not only keep him there, but also maintain ground control time. But you also got to understand that he's very difficult to finish, okay? Very difficult to finish. And not only that, has very good striking. In fact, I'll even argue that maybe Jack Della Maddalena has the better wrestling. And if he doesn't have the better striking, for sure he's going to show that he has the better wrestling. I think the anti-wrestling that he displayed against Bilal Muhammad will show in this fight in reverse, in my humble opinion. Phil says, right. He says, a good fight, though. Looking forward for it. Should be an all stand-up fight. Correct. Because when have you ever seen Carlos Prates initiate a takedown offense, right? Initiate a shot, a double leg, or anything like that, right? Very few times, or, not even, I mean, seldom you would see him do something like that, honestly. And with good reason. It's not his forte. The guy has had over like 100 fights in Muay Thai in Thailand. So I can see why you look at him as the better striker here, right? But as a Muay Thai fighter myself, right? Somebody who's competed in amateur Muay Thai, won some trophies in in Muay Thai and whatnot. What I could tell you is that I did it and beat a lot of guys in Muay Thai style using MMA striking. Which is why I'm telling you, I think that MMA striking is a lot superior. Fee says, Ilya versus Islam, who do you have? I got Islam Makhachev on that one. I think that he actually finishes Ilya Topuria. I think Ilya Topuria is very elite. He's very elite. Don't get it twisted, right? As elite as it comes. The problem is when you're dealing with Islam Makhachev, he's going to be too big for him. Ilya Topuria is a real life 145er, right? He's a 145er that barely just made 155, right? I think, you know what, man, listen, I think there's a lot of 155ers that would give Ilya Topuria some problems. Okay, I think that Ilya Topuria does very well at 145 for a good reason. because there is, I think there's a limit to what he could do at 155. He just happened to have been matched up with the right guy in Charles Oliveira. Okay, Charles Oliveira was the perfect matchup for him. It was a matchup that he was able to, um, stylistically handle. And we'll see how he does against somebody like Armin, right? Who really has tested the wrestling of Ilya Tapora. Um, Bryce Mitchell, maybe, maybe. Who else? Who else? Um, let's take a look at the overall fight record of Ilya Tapora. Very impressive record at 17-0 right now. So Charles Oliveira, not a wrestler. Bryce Mitchell, maybe. Josh Emmett, Volkanovski does have wrestling, knocked him out, but it was a late Volkanovski. Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, Damon Jackson, nope. Yusuf Zalal, definitely not. Yeah, that win aged well for Ilya Tapora, or rather for Yusuf Zalal as well. Um, all right, so yeah, man, he hasn't really been tested with a lot of wrestlers. And what do you think is going to happen the minute that Islam takes him down? Oh, and not just any kind of wrestler, man, a wrestler that has very good takedown offense, and in multiple ways, right? From the judo hip toss area, from the takedown perspective. Actually, you know what? Most of the takedowns that Islam gets, if you notice, are in the clinch, not so much on the outside wrestling or shooting in. Fee says, what's the difference between MMA striking versus Muay Thai? That's a very good question, so I'm going to answer it for you right now. Okay, so the difference between MMA striking and Muay Thai is that Muay Thai is very linear. It's very flat-footed, right? They don't emphasize a lot of jazz and pizzazz footwork, which, by the way, MMA has, which is, I think, a combination of Western boxing and the balance of Taekwondo and karate. Karate is also a very elusive fighting style as well, right? So they lack very elusive movements, right? They're not very, they're very linear in their foot patterns, right? And also, I would say a lack of head movement. So that is why I say MMA striking is a lot more superior. And actually, even people who compete in MMA can have a better chance of competing in Muay Thai than, let's say, if an MMA fighter was to go into boxing in a Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor type of situation, Francis Ngannou, Tyson Fury type of example, right? Because it's just how styles are, right? Like encompasses MMA striking encompasses um not only Western boxing with its slickness, its defense, its footwork and rhythm, and the jazz and pizzazz that you put into it, the Muhammad Ali, Prince Nassim type of style, but you also get the head movements and the elusive striking that you would also see in Taekwondo and karate. So I hope that answers your question, Fee, and what is the difference between MMA striking and Muay Thai striking. But on any regard, yeah, man. So we got some interesting fights going on this week as well. I tell you what, man. I've had, yes, amazing. Thank you. I've had Muay Thai guys debate me on on this particular topic, right? Like, honestly, a lot of pure Muay Thai guys. I don't know. I'll leave it alone because then I'm going to end up mentioning, some local names that don't need to be mentioned. But on any regards, let me just say that I have this highly contested debate with a lot of Muay Thai guys. Let me just say that, right? A lot of them are stuck in their ways. They just know how to train one way. They don't really, try and innovate or try different ways to train or different methods or just, yeah. Let me see what you wrote here. He says, what are your thoughts on risk control during stand-up fights? I think it's great. I think risk control, especially if you're in close range positions, right? I think risk controls are very important in close range wrestling positions. Look, especially if you want to neutralize somebody that has good wrestling, use wrist control. That is where the bread and butter is at when it comes to neutralizing or fighting in a very anti-wrestler type of stand-up battle that you wish, right? You got to have the 2-on-1, right? Especially if they're good wrestlers. Because once you have a 2-on-1 on their wrist, you're putting a lot of pressure on just one part of their body where, if they're proficient wrestlers, guess what? They really need to have both of their hands clasped together in order to neutralize you. So remember that, right? In order for a wrestler to do what a wrestler does, they need to have their hands clapped together, putting you in a bear hug position or putting you in some sort of body lock position or anything that they can put their hands together around you in any part of your body, right? Well, how do you prevent that? You go 2-on-1 on their wrist and, doing it ahead of time before, let's say, they can even get into positions where they can go two hands on you with a double leg position or two hands on you with a single leg or an ankle pick or things of that nature. So I hope that that sort of answers your question right there from a technical level. So yeah, man, that's what we also do here in this channel, man. Not only do we talk about the fights, not only do we speculate on the fights, not only do we have banter about the fights, but we also talk about technique. We also talk about things that are reality in fighting, right? Yeah, so that's kind of the things that we offer here in this channel. But let me know if you guys like it, if that's I mean, look, let me tell you, man, this is probably one of the most diversified channels you will ever see. Obviously, right now I'm doing a full audio version of this right now, right? I do a lot in my studios, in my office as well. I also do a lot of outside stuff, right? Like IRL type of streaming where I'm literally like right outside of Sacramento. I'm right here by Old Sac. I go to downtown. I show you like all the areas of Sacramento and whatnot. Even did a few mini hood vlogs or whatnot, here too, showed you guys some low rider shows. So I do a little bit of everything here. Talk about MMA. I talk about world politics as well. Obviously, I covered the Trump White House shooting the other day. So we do a little bit of everything here, but first and foremost, not to be mistaken for anything else. First and foremost, it is a mixed martial arts channel. That is the base of this channel. That is what we pride ourselves on, is mixed martial arts and how it relates to the world. More importantly, so I hope you guys like that. And yeah, man. Let's see what else. What else do we got going on? Yeah, so will this fight happen? There's a good chance that it will happen, but I'm making this bold prediction right now that it is going to be Max Holloway and Conor McGregor. Right, there is absolutely no doubt about it. It is going to be Max Holloway and Conor McGregor fighting for the second time, right? For Max Holloway to get his redemption. And here's the thing, right? I think the UFC at this point sort of knows and understands that Conor McGregor is done with. He is absolutely done with, right? He is finished. But here's the thing. They know that they still have Max Holloway. They have a couple left in the tank for Max Holloway, right? So if Max Holloway wins, which he more than likely will, okay, they promote him, they catapult him, and guess what? The cycle goes as it follows, okay? They're going to get a young 145 that's coming up, maybe Movzar, maybe LaRon Murphy, one of these top guys, right? And they're going to make a name off of Max Holloway, okay, so they can catapult Movzar, LaRon Murphy, or anybody in the 145 division that's worth a dang. And that also includes Aldo as well. He says, do you think Conor McGregor changed his style of boxing heavy because of leg injuries even before the Poirier 3 fight? That's a very good question. I'm going to answer that question first. Is 86 asked, is it official? It will be official. You're going to hear it here first, but guaranteed that this is going to be official because, well, let me just say that that is the rumblings behind everybody in the industry right now. Now, going back to Fai's question, right? Do you think McGregor changed his style of boxing heavy because of the leg injuries before the Poirier 3 fight? So I think that has a lot to do with not only McGregor's injuries that he has suffered, but it's also part of his body growth. Well, what do I mean by that? When you look at Conor McGregor in 2014 and 15, what did you remember? You saw Conor McGregor hanging out in the beautiful beaches of Venice Beach, California, right? Love California. Obviously, that's the reason why I'm out here in the first place. I love it. North California to South California. I love everything about it, even all the way down to San Diego and across the border. Love everything about it, right? But Conor McGregor training in LA was one of the most magical times that you could see in his career because he was doing all of these Ido Portal body movements, which, by the way, made him very elusive. So going back to what you're saying right now, he was very elusive back then, wasn't as elusive as he is now. And as a result of that, his body got heavy. He started gaining a little bit more muscle, which unfortunately, one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people do once they gain muscle, right, is not bring the footwork and the speed with them, right? John Jones sort of did the same thing. He really just concentrated a lot on powerlifting, being the strongest heavyweight that he can be. But obviously, you notice that it affected his style because why would John Jones needed to be John Meat instead of John Bones? Because when he was John Bones, he was already beating up heavyweights in his Greg Jackson gym roster. You had Overeem, you had Frank Mir, you had Brendan Schaub, you had Shane Carwin. I mean, the list goes on of top heavyweights. He was beating Matt Mitrione. You name it. He says, "Did you see your boy T.J. Dillashaw sparring lately?" No. Where was this sparring footage that you are talking about, and who was it with? Let me know on the comment section below. Thanks for telling me that, by the way. He says he was sparring one of Khamzat's guys and did not look good movement-wise with his new muscles. Well, there you go, right? Obviously, T.J. Dillashaw is not the skinny TJ Dillashaw that you remember back in 2013 and 14, maybe even 2011 when he was even skinnier, right? He now put on a lot of man muscles, and not only man muscles, right? Man muscles is one thing, right? You can gain man muscles while you are in your fight career. There's man muscles, and then there's Prince Nassim muscles, okay? And you know what? And obviously, I compare TJ Dillashaw a lot to Prince Nassim, right? Very similar stand-up fighting styles. And obviously, with the body frame that Prince Nassim currently has and the body frame of TJ Dillashaw, though TJ Dillashaw looks like, a well-built bodybuilder, um, it does affect his movement. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It was inconducive to the style that he had. Which is why, guys, look, this is the reason why, guys, I'm going to tell you something right now, right? This is a reason why I will never do bodybuilding workouts. I will never do it. Never do it. You want to know why? Because number one, even if I'm not fighting anymore, right? Uh I still want to maintain being able to fight, but being able to fight in a way that I know how to fight. Well, how do I know how to fight? I know how to fight in a very elusive manner. That's all I know how to do. I don't know how to be, a Mexican style fighter. Oh, we're going to go toe to toe and we're going to stand and bang and, this, that, and the other. I don't know how to do that. I don't want it. Actually, I know how to do that. Anybody who knows how to throw a punch knows how to do that, right? Just be, a Neanderthal idiot and just walk forward and go, swing, swing, swing. I see red. If you want to do that, I don't want to fight like that. So if I don't want to fight like that, I don't want to train like that. So, you'll never see me, doing bodybuilding workouts, at least not for a long-term wise, right? Like I'm not going to go weeks of like, oh, I got to do my traps, I got to do my abs, I got to do my, my calves and all this, isolated weird shit, right? Um, so yeah, he says, I'm guessing you like punching with angles. Yes. Yes, very much so. I love punching with angles, which is why, like, for a little bit of a context, fee, the reason why Victory brought up T.J. Dillashaw was because I've trained with T.J. Dillashaw before, and I've actually learned how to fight very elusive, being in the same training camps with TJ. So, yeah, he says me too. Okay, do you do MMA, boxing, or you train a little bit of both? He says he taught him everything he knows. Here we go again with with that conspiracy theory. And what I say to that is the only way any of that is plausible is just the fact that TJ Dillashaw is obviously younger than me, but not by much. I'm like probably a couple of years older than him. So, not by much. TJ is like what, probably 37 years old now. And so is Conor McGregor, by the way, right? So that's kind of the thing, right? With Conor McGregor, going back to Conor McGregor, right? He's 37 years old, okay? And at 37 years old, are you going to be able to bring back that elusive fighting style that you once had? Right, and that's going to be very difficult. Fee says kickboxing and boxing. Okay, so yeah, man, yeah, that's real interesting topics of technique that we have here, right? Like I said before, we sort of do and talk about different things here in this channel, and technique is certainly one of them, right? Like we definitely get sensationalized up in here. Like we talk about gangs, we talk about the controversies of the Real Housewives of the UFC soap opera that we got going on. But even with that, we also talk about intelligent matters at hand, right? Matters of the world, geopolitics, but we also talk about technique and self-defensive, mechanisms as well. So, which are obviously very important things to talk about. So, all right, here's a bit of some snippets of what had happened during the shooting. And Trump's will share is that they will forever be known as the party that has divided. Trump's will share. I think that the right is forever divided, and if there is one thing that those boys from that part of the world and Trump's will share is that they will forever be known as the party that has divided the Republican Party. You guys are listening to the a little bit of some snippets of what I had live streamed, but this is an audio form though. But what I had live streamed on the breaking news of the shooting at the White House, which by the way took place on the same night as Aljo, as the Aljo fight and the Yusuf Zalal fight. So we're going to talk about the Aljo and the Yusuf Zalal fight a little bit, but first, going back in time to Saturday. Be some sort of rally around the flag effect. So I don't think that will come about. But it depends on his motives, right? We'll see his motives. I'm sure the guy is left-leaning. He went to Caltech. He's a bleeding heart liberal. Looks to be a mixed race. I mean, kind of the same run-of-the-mill progressive who has violent motives. That's what it seems like on his face right now. However, we don't have all the news and the facts. We'll gather his motivations in the next 24 to 48 hours, and then we'll have a full conclusion. Oh, my goodness. Yusuf Zalal is about to get choked out. Oh, no, he's actually doing a good job of defending it. Never mind. Never mind. All right, 2:45 left into the fourth round right now. Oh, man, he's trying. Oh, he's got him rolled over. Yeah, this is a terrible position. Plus, he's got the figure four body lock on him right now. All right, guys, there has been a shooting going on in the White House Correspondents' Media Room. This is what's going on right now, live, as we are seeing what's happening.
I get what they're trying to get at here, but obviously she meant that figuratively because Donald Trump is probably going to rip on half of the room.
Everyone should tune in. It's going to be really great. I'm looking forward to hearing it.
I love it all. And you wrote, of course, highly coincidental, but, you know, I already know the conspirators are going to jump on that.
Okay. All right, so here's a little bit of some synopsis of what's going on here to get you guys started on this, right? As of right now, on Saturday, April 25th, 2026, as we are also covering UFC Fight Night, Las Vegas, Yusuf Zalal versus Aljamain Sterling, President Donald Trump was evacuated from the Washington Hilton during the White House Correspondents Association dinner, after which gunfire had erupted inside the venue. Now, what is the status of the president right now? Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are safely evacuated and untouched by the whole entire incident, right? Well, during this incident, several loud bangs were heard in the ballroom, prompting the Secret Service agents to draw weapons and rush to protect the president. Now, witnesses include... Hey, shout out to you, Anik MMA. Shout out to you, my man. You know, he's Milestone on the phone. I don't understand what that means. Let me know what those emojis stand for. Including CNN anchor Wolf Blitzer reported to have been seeing a shooter with a very large weapon. All right, now the suspect, conflicting initial reports indicated the shooter was shot dead by Secret Service or was taken into custody. You want to know my guess? Probably an Iranian agent, to which is going to cause embarrassment, and they probably covered it up. Now, that's just my theory. That doesn't mean that I'm correct, but that is where I stand on that, right? Now, what about some injuries? There have been no immediate reports of injuries to attendees. Now, what is the event outcome? Despite the disruption, the event briefly resumed, and the President Trump reportedly expressed a desire to return to the ballroom to finish his remarks. In other words, Donald Trump is being very defiant in the orders of the Secret Service to evacuate the White House. Of course, he's going to stay there because he wants to show that he's strong. He wants to show that he's defiant. And he wants to show that nobody is going to stop him from living his life. And just like what happened when he got shot in the ear. He went back a couple of weeks later to go make a speech. Why? Because he knew that he wanted to show strength. He wanted to show durability. He wanted to show tenacity. He wanted to show that he was a bad SOB. He wanted to show that he was an American badass. Just like the Kid Rock song. But we'll see what happens as live updates are going on with this one right now. So...
Fantastic, you wrote that all. Guys, smash that like button. Let's get to 1,000 likes, 1,500 likes on YouTube. I'm on here, even though this platform sucks. My brother's on YouTube as well. Make sure to open the tab.
All right, look at this picture of the Secret Service drawing their guns out as this was happening.
After tonight's dinner, would they start planning next year's already?
Yeah, immediately after. You know, in 2011, I immediately began planning for the dinner in 2012. You know, that starts with finding the entertainment. It takes presumably doesn't have an issue there because presumably Oz Perlman would return for that. But
all right, so far here's the latest, right? President Trump was rushed from the stage after gunfire broke out in the hotel where the White House Correspondents' Dinner was being held this Saturday night. Okay, the same time as the UFC is going on right now on Paramount. Okay, the president appeared to be unharmed and was posting on social media like he normally does, saying that he would soon hold a news conference at the White House regarding the particular matter. Now, the Secret Service said that a person was taken into custody after a shooting incident near a security screening area. Now, according to the White House press poll, a group of reporters who traveled with the president and a member of the Secret Service shouted, "Shots fired! Shots fired!" And an agent with guns drawn sprinted through the aisle to reach to the president. All right, so let's see here. We got some comments right here. Reporting from the Washington Hilton, Michael Greinbaum says some attendees who attempted to leave the ballroom were told by law enforcement officials that they could not do so because the perimeter of the hotel had to be secured. Tyler Pager says there was a heavy police presence outside Washington Hilton, but no security screening required to enter the hotel. There were numerous parties hosted on various floors of the hotel, as well as a red carpet. However, to enter the ballroom where the dinner was held, all attendees were required to go through magnet meters and have any bags checked. TSA agents were among those involved in the security checks. So, yes, of course, I remember. You always ask me if I remember you every time you're in the chat. Of course I do. So, all right, man. Yeah, that is what we have going on with this one right now. So, okay, let's take a look at this right here from U.S. Attorney Pirro right here. Let's see here.
Taken out of the main ballroom after they found the shots fired. The Secret Service is now in charge of this building, this hotel. I just spoke to Mayor Muriel Bowser. She is on her way, and Chief Jeffrey Carroll is on his way. He will be in charge as soon as he gets here.
I mean, not to get into the nitty gritty, man, but maybe I'm being unfair. I feel like the response was a little delayed from Secret Service. I don't know. I'm not trying to rip on Secret Service. They get enough flack as it is, but it kind of took them some time to get to the stage, bro. No shots were.
Yeah, so that's going to be a contentious debate, of course. Why was the Secret Service not there on time? And with that, yeah, like and subscribe, guys.
Five gifted, bro.
All right, back to the UFC.
Or no, nine gifted. Appreciate you.
Happening there, assessing the situation to make sure that they could get him up and move him out. It was, again, I hate keep referencing this, but we saw a very similar action in Butler, and we've seen this with other presidents as well, where they make sure that he is protected by a boss, in this case, of a Secret Service agent, and then when it's safe to move him out. Yeah, and it looks like the journalist now can't go ahead and be.
For those of you guys that are just joining, because we got a lot of people watching right now, but you know, we got what, like 4,000 or 5,000 guys in here. So my brothers, 4,000 to 6,000 guys in here. No boss, of course. Guys, basically, shots went off at the White House Correspondents' Center in Washington, D.C. Secret Service immediately secured the scene, got the president out of there, evacuated him, Mike Johnson, J.D. Vance. Obviously the three people that are in the succession line.
Yeah, J.D. Vance, Republicanism Vance says, Kyrie, I did not expect to be seeing this on the news tonight. Likewise, man, likewise.
But yeah, so they rushed him out of there. It seems like Trump is going to do a press conference. We're going to wait and see what's going on. We don't really know too much. I know that we're going to.
All right, so we're going to wait. Trump is going to do a press conference. I can't wait to hear this. By the way, how will this affect the White House car?
Based on what you said, right, Rhea? That the shooter's apprehended. So since he was captured, it might be a bit till we get his name.
All right, so the shooter was captured.
That's kind of why I'm reserving, giving too much commentary, because figuring out who he is going to help us a lot with knowing what the hell actually transpired here. So yeah, and for some. Go ahead. In the intricacies of it, at least what we know right now is the shooting was in the lobby of the hotel, not actually where the dinner took place. At least that's what it seems like from the video footage. Yeah. No one got up and straight away or ran. So they were distant shots. There were about 4 to 5 of them. That's what reports are saying. CNN had reported initially he was dead, but now Donald Trump, or the Secret Service themselves, obviously from C-SPAN that we're watching here, have reported that he's apprehended. So yeah, it's really nothing else. We don't know what kind of gun. We don't know who it was, what his motives were, but that will all come to light probably very early on tomorrow. Or at some point. Well, he might actually. Trump might like spill the beans and say what it is. For this. Yeah.
Hey, that is a good point. You know, Trump.
He might actually. Trump might like spill the beans.
And he did. That's exactly what Trump did. Not only I'm back live right now, by the way, guys, no replay. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about, as I promised, we're going to talk about the Aljo and the Yusuf Zalal fight, right? Well, here's the thing about it, right? What did we expect? We knew that Aljo's wrestling was so good that it actually translates over to the next weight class, right? That's sort of the one thing that I was talking about leading up to the fight. What I was thinking was, you know what, man? Wrestling wins fights, and it takes you to the next weight class, i.e. Daniel Cormier, i.e. Randy Couture, i.e. George St. Pierre, right? Now, in the current class of champions right now, it seems that the ones that are taking the double championships are strikers, i.e. Ilya Topuria, i.e. Alex Pereira. And then it started off with Conor McGregor as the double champ. But that's the era that we're in right now, right? Victory says DC is kind of underrated. I have him as one of the GOATs. Well, think about this, right? Other than Stipe, and by the way, he fought Stipe at the prime years of Stipe, right? After that, it was just nothing but downhill from Stipe, as you know. But other than Stipe, who, by the way, was also an all-time great for him, and also, you know, you have to give John Jones his flowers as well. Although he did fight a Daniel Cormier, I'm sorry, he did fight a compromised Stipe in New York in his last fight. John Jones did, right? But DC only really realistically lost to John Jones and then Stipe at his best, and then also beat Stipe at his best. John Jones can't say that he beat the best version of Stipe. Daniel Cormier can. And the way that Daniel Cormier beat him, it is not to say that John Jones could beat him the same way. Because we don't know if the spinning back kick translates in John Jones' heavyweight body as it does to light heavyweight John Jones's body going into Stipe. He says the Josh Barnett fight. Yes. DC's first heavyweight run in the Strike Force was impressive as hell. Yup. He was an alternative. He was an alternate at the Strike Force tournament, if you remember. So, you know, that was yeah, man. He was an alternate and ended up winning the whole entire thing, man. You know what I mean? So, you know, that was some real awesome, real awesome display for DC right there at that time. A very beginning part of his career that led to what we have right now. So, okay, going back to the Aljo fight, I think a lot of people didn't give him a lot of credit for that fight, right? But ultimately, what we're talking about with DC is that wrestling wins fights, and we also forget that as much of a striking, an exciting striker that Aljo is, he's also uh, a very formidable and capable grappler. Victory says he was very fast for a heavyweight, right? Just kind of like Josh Hockett. I was going to call him Josh Koscheck, but yeah, Josh Hockett. You know, Josh Hockett is a very fast heavyweight. He's a problem for a lot of guys, man. Yeah, he was very fast for heavyweight. Victory says, I'm an Aljo fan now. For sure, I'm calling out black people are under BS was gold. Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? That doesn't surprise me that Aljo is like that, right? Aljo is one of these black dudes that hangs out with, white dudes like Matt Serra, like this no nonsense. I'm a New York Italian guy. You know what I mean? Nothing could get past me. Haha. Your conspiracy theories are bullshit, type of guys. Like that. Oh, what are you talking about? Woke. I don't know nothing about no woke or this and that. You know what I mean? Like, That's the type of white boys that Aljo hangs out with. So of course Aljo is going to have this sort of opinion on things. And well, look, you know what? Let's look up what he said. Right, I want to be in full context and understanding of what Aljo said about black people. I want to see if I can find um, uh, some kind of video of him saying these things. Let's see here. Aljo calls out black people. Okay, let's see what comes up with this. Okay, let's see this. He says black. Not
get this. Aljamain Sterling and Demetrius Johnson spoke on the black community not claiming them. fam, fam, they're not black. I mean, like, he's mixed, but like he's black. He's like Jamaican or some shit. Like African ancestry. I don't know exactly. Just watch. Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna play the clips, but I just want to go through some of the comments here because I know black people call you whitewash for not speaking out or dressing a certain way, and I hate that. But in the case of these two guys,
Victory says he talked a little about it on the Mighty Mouse podcast, but his original statements were somewhere else. Okay, I think probably on social media, right? On text on social media, perhaps.
It's deeper than what I saw. I can definitely see black people feeling like these guys are more white than they are black. Regardless of that, these are two successful black men. Honestly, bro, you can't change your race, man. At the end of the day, I'm brown. You can't do anything about that, man. You genuinely can. I mean, I get it. You guys are shit to have John Jones regarded as the GOAT. Don't worry, bro. Don't worry. I'm brown. I'm Indian. We got no MMA prospects so far, man. Our best representation is Buja Tamar and Untitled Chapter, man. Who, by the way, would have beaten Shamrock. Now, this video is not to actually take other sides. I just want to explain the situation a bit closer and just see where everyone else follows, because it's a really interesting situation. So it all started off with this video here. Now, first things first, let me actually play the clip, which was on the Aljamain Sterling show. Sorry, the Mighty Mouse cast.
Everything. Okay. You may caption it.
Okay, guys, so right here, this is where he actually says it right here, where he talks about it. This is what you might be talking about right here.
Brainwashing of black Americans.
The brainwashing of black Americans.
Aljamain Sterling, he started going on this whole thing about black people need to take more accountability. Like, he was responding to somebody, but that tweet got taken down. But he responded by saying, "You're right. My black folks need to do better. Deep-rooted systems make these changes hard, but it starts with us now and the next generation." But the problem was that doesn't sound bad in isolation, but it was referencing crime statistics and something about black people and when that's what he was responding to. That's when I was like, yo. Time out. I'm like, Aljo.
No, I'm surprised by what you just said about Aljo, saying that black people got to take accountability and whatnot.
So I mean, I don't understand what his whole context is behind that, but I think we can put this on the Mighty Cast too. When I go to New York and when I'm around other black, gentlemen.
He said, Victory says, "Let's go. The race whisperer solving the world's problems," man. I don't know about solving the world's problems, but I could definitely decipher these types of conversations, right? Because it's the type of conversations I've been around my whole entire life, right? And you know what? Let's be honest about it, right? No matter what side of the fence you are about it, you find it interesting, right? And that's what we're here for by the end of the day.
They look at me and say, they look at me and say, "You ain't black, dog." They're like, "You ain't black." Look at the way you dress. Look at the way you look. Bro.
Exactly. So that stems from the comment right here.
Yeah, dude. Because look at DJ, bro. He is a light-skinned black dude who lives in Washington State. Okay. Now look. Keep in mind, there is. A little bit of a minority presence in Washington State. I mean, remember, they got Crips in Seattle. They got Crips in Washington State, right? And that was as a result of, LA guys moving there when, let's say, they did, a little skeet out here and then decided to go and move up there for one reason or another, right? But yeah, DJ, right? Trains with nothing but white boys. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You got to train with different people to get better, right? But that those are also his friends, those are also his mates, and they share the same value. And then on top of that, he has a blonde white wife. So yeah, DJ is a little different.
You're saying that the way you dress, I know I've seen in comments.
He says DJ is about as white as it gets as a black man. LOL. He says, well, he got pretty good training with white boys. Exactly. No, listen, that's really what it is, bro. Look, bro, that's really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? He did get better, and he became one of the greatest of all time by training with Matt Hume, okay, a white man, okay, and then on top of that, his other training partners, all white men. I mean, not all, I mean, for the most part, right? But that's just what you have to do. You have to go and train with other people to get better. Just like what Rocky did. Just like what Rocky did in Rocky 3, right? What did he do? Right? He moved out of Philadelphia in his small little Italian neighborhood and went to LA with Apollo Creed to go train with some black dudes in LA.
Somewhere here. Oh, yes, to call you whitewash.
That's what you have to do. It can all go in reverse as well, right? You got to go somewhere in this part of the world to get better. And then, it goes also for the other side of the reverse of that as well. Like the Rocky example that I mentioned to you guys with him training with Apollo Creed. He says, need that black man footwork. Yes, exactly, bro. That's exactly what Rocky 3 was emphasizing, right? Hey, Rock, you got to move your feet. There is no tomorrow. Hey, Apollo, tomorrow, jabbing his head in, you know what I mean? Because his head is not in the game. There is no tomorrow. You see that, Rock? The eye of the tiger, Rock. You had that when me and you fought. You lost it. These guys, they have it. You see that, Rock? The eye of the tiger. And then here comes Paulie. Paulie, his racist, brother-in-law who doesn't like being around black people. He looks at Rocky and he's like, well, you know what, Rock? I don't like being around them. And then Rocky was like, oh, yeah? Well, maybe they don't like being around you. There it is, man. The race whisperer at it again.
Not speaking or dressing a certain way. So clearly, Aljo did not take too kindly at this.
He says, doesn't call them animals in the movie. Yes, he does. Yes, that's exactly what it is, bro. Bro, that was the 80s, bro. You could get away with, saying stuff like that. Nowadays, man, you can't get past that in Hollywood nowadays.
And here's the thing, Aljo actually responded in a comment section, and I also want to show this real quick.
He says, Paulie, that is. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He told Rock, yeah, you know what? I don't like these people. Oh, yeah? Well, maybe they don't like you. You fat Guido. And that's why during the swim, training montage, he grabbed Paulie up in the pool. He's like, man, get your racist ass up in this pool.
Aljo's clearly going to win against a lot of line tests this year. Parry punch, I don't know what you're on. Well, everyone makes their own lines. That's crazy reason to term lines when people are using this for betting knowledge. But hey, it is what it is. If I can just find the video, yes, it's right here. And Aljo Story says a couple of things. I have no idea how this post came across my feed. Let's be fair. Someone clearly sent this to him. But I mean, what is it? I remember this one Apex fighter commented on my post, and I didn't even tag him, actually. It was the video of Javid Basharat getting cut from the UFC, and his opponent commented on my post saying that wasn't a masterclass, that was my debut. But yeah, he was getting cooked by the Afghani fans. Well, not necessarily cooked, because some of them are delusional, but you get what I'm saying. Aljo Mystery says a couple of things. I have no idea how this post came across my feed, but I have some time law. It's one thing to have culture, to have fun, and to be different. It's another thing to be ghetto, ratchet, and fitting the stereotypes that we all wish to shed for decades. I'm brown. The stereotypes is we don't shower, we don't use deodorant, we smell, etc. Well, what if I told you, look at that, see? NVIDIA.
All right, so you also got to understand too, right? Aljo, has made some comments about the the praying at the Times Square.
Deodorant. It's okay to, be better. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not fitting into that like non-showering type, situation. But like, I'm Indian. I'm on stereotypes, and we're doing what we can to, just not do it. Now, I'll let you guys pause and just like read the rest. I joined the wrestling team from grade 10 after stopping basketball. And he just goes on, but just to summarize, if it's not understood, then y'all are really some weird people, in my opinion. Respectfully, time and place for everything.
Yeah, so the Times Square thing, no, he didn't say anything about the Times Square prayer. Actually, he said something about like, how London is starting to look like London Stan or something like that. He says, yeah, those Indian stereotypes exist for a reason. I have a friend that lives in Canada. Yikes.
I kind of do agree with Jake Shields here. See, I don't want to view myself as this guy who thinks, white people want him, like white supremacists want him, even though my skin is not white. But I have a feeling that
he says there are tons of Indians, and they they do. I mean, yeah, that's unfortunately what they do, right?
Aljo, it was something else, man. Because Zombie Man Jay, shout out to him. By the way, no hate to anyone in the situation. Aljo, Mighty, Zombie Man Jay, or any of the guys that were on Keon Kimura's video. Love all of them. I'm just like, this situation was just kind of surprising that not a lot of people are talking about it. So, I saw that my boy Zombie Man Jay, a fellow Jay himself, was gonna make a long form video, and I was like, I'm gonna beat you to it, Jay. I'm gonna beat you to it. I'm the original Jay. Well, actually, no, you are, because you've been doing MMA content longer than me. He went on Twitter. See, this is why I don't have a Twitter account. Twitter is just very toxic, and there's more discussions about race than the actual sport. But yeah, he went on a full blast over there as well. And it all started off with this tweet which says that combo your biases leftist media. What about you says you have an opinion on thoughtful conversations? So I think it's easier for you guys to twist words and push narrative because a few brothers are trying to be good. Role models for people that look like us weird. I have to respect Aljo in this situation, man. I'm sorry, but like Aljo seems to be the more logical person here. I'm not saying Jay's delusional, but I understand where his anger is coming from at the same time, And it's ironic that you're saying I'm not open to other opinions because I'm a leftist. Before you speak on the black community, you should crack open a history book and would find out that most of our important leaders would be described as left-leaning at the least, which is true, Over the, which is true. There's quite a lot of leaders like Martin Luther King, etc., And there's currently a lot of...
And by the way, Martin Luther King, unpopular opinion, but the man, got caught with a few hookers in his hotel room, man. What you doing? What you doing in there, man? He says, that's what I'm saying. Aljo was speaking facts. Yeah, I mean, he was. Look, speaking facts is speaking facts, right? But Aljo is Aljo. Let's just be honest, right? There's a reason why he lives in the demographic of Long Island that he does. He says, I was gonna say that about MLK. Yeah, man, that's an uncomfortable reality of MLK, especially if you're a black nationalist.
A lot of black leftist leaders across the area, across the world as well, regardless of any continent, country, etc. But overall, man, just good luck to Aljo in this fight. He's been going through a lot of bullshit as well. There was also a clip of him arguing Zombie Man Jay on live. Bro, that was some insane shit right there. That being said, go of the sport, hate it or leave it. These two are black at the end of the day. If you're black, be proud that you have good representation, man. Listen, I'm brown. We got no good representation at all in the sport. It is what it is at the end of the day. This is what I love and this is what I like to...
Yeah, look, so I want to just kind of cut off my man there. Good video on him, right? Good breakdown. Shout outs to him. But on any regard, Okay, let's talk about representation, right? A lot of people complain about representation. Oh, there's not enough representation of X, Y, and Z race for this movie, or there's not enough representation for this, X, Y, and Z film or TV series or something like that, right? You know what I mean? But this is the way that I look at it, right? Like, okay, as Muslims, are we going to complain about not having, let's say, an action movie star like Tom Hardy or Jason Statham? The answer is no. Why would we need to when in real life we have Kamzat and Islam and Arthur Beterbiev and the list goes on, right? Like, why do we need representation when in combat sports, Muslim boys are dominating in that end, right? We don't need any representation in Hollywood or representation in rap or representation in entertainment. You know what I mean? But uh look, I get it. There are other races of people out there that means something to them, especially if they are in the field of arts, right? That means a lot to them, especially if you're a black actor. You want to see Denzel win an Oscar. You want to see people that look like you make it so that you can feel in a way that, hey, you know what? If Denzel can win an Oscar, maybe myself too, young Tyrone, an aspiring actor from Watts, California, near Compton, can do it as well, right? I obviously reference Watts because that's where Tyrese, the R&B singer and turned Fast and Furious actor, came from. So shout out to him, and yeah, shout outs to Grape Street out there where he's from. By the way, speaking of Grape Street, I showed you guys a video here in Grape Street of Justin Bieber getting stuck out there and then doing push-ups with some Grape Street Crips. It was great. Victory says, "Oh yeah, supposedly movies can't be nominated to win Grammys or whatever unless they are of a certain amount of GAY or minority characters to win an Oscar." Yeah. That is a weird criteria, right? Because what if you're doing a movie about Rwanda in Africa in the 1980s or 90s, where there was a huge apartheid, or if you're doing a movie about the apartheid state of South Africa, you're going to have a limited amount of the type of characters like you're going to have. Like, okay, like I get it, there were Indian people that lived in South Africa, so maybe you could add a few Indians here and there. But if you're talking about in the 1980s or 90s, the migration of that country and the foreigners that were coming in there was not as prominent as it is now, so you can't really compare it to the same light. You know what I mean? So yeah, I suppose, right? So it kind of just taints the art of making movies, right? Because now people are trying to fill quotas rather than actually trying to fill up, an actual piece of art that has, somewhat remnants of accuracy in some kind of way. Um, let's see. Victory says, I noticed that in movies the past couple of years, movies set 500 years ago with black female leaders, random races playing parts that don't make sense. Yeah, exactly, right? Like for example, why would it make sense to have um, I don't know, a Hispanic person in 12th century China, right? Like that type of thing. Obviously, I'm drawing very general and even fictitious, examples, but you know what I mean. And he said, so many movies have badass female characters that are the leaders. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's really what it is, right? They're trying to create this whole entire female empowerment thing, right? But again, we also have to take into context and understand that the movies are the movies, right? G.I. Jane, played by what's her name? Demi Moore, okay, is a fictional outcome, right? Like there are no female Navy SEALs. Woke no coke. Woke no cloak. Okay, that's an interesting name right there. Try saying it multiple times. Woke no coke says true. Yes, it's in a fictional world, right? So if they want to create a world that Demi Moore can be a Navy SEAL and G.I. Jane, let it be, because in reality, we know what the haps is on that, right? In reality, the guys that are living that life or that have to live that life and have to be about that life, they know that females can't be involved for, multitudes of reasons. And they know that females are not going to be around. They know that females are not going to be able to make it, in that type of process. Yeah, man, I think they tried it out with the U.S. Rangers and it just, failed miserably. And what do you expect? Right? Female Rangers. I mean, come on now. You know what I mean? That was an absolute bound of failure, to happen. I mean, that's just really what it comes down to. Um, but look, man, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for us to understand our roles and limitations as both men and women, right? People always want to mention the exception of the few whenever they bring up, like, for example, female fighters, right? Female fighters, for the most part, I would say are exceptional people. At least some of them, right? I know Clarissa Shields is definitely exceptional. Kayla Harrison is very exceptional. Ronda Rousey in her prime days was very exceptional. But they make it seem like every female fighter on a prelim card has the chance to beat up Ray Lewis from the Baltimore Ravens. Okay? Like Joanna Jędrzejczyk has a chance to beat, Marshawn Lynch or something, some weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, obviously, Marshawn Lynch is not a martial arts, practitioner in any kind of way, but reality hits to the fact that he is an explosive athlete, and one shot coming from him could probably put your lights out, right? If he just, yeah, if he just twerks it in the right way. I mean, not even, right? I mean, we're talking about him like, in a hypothetical scenario of punching out Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Obviously, she's going to end up looking like the Weili Zhang fight, the first fight around in February of 2020 when her face, got absolutely mutilated. It would look exactly like that. Right? So, yeah, we have to understand our limits as human beings, right? We have to understand what we are capable of. Oh, man. You know what? On top of the hour, I have a crazy story I wanted to tell you guys, right? So I'm going to call hour number one. In the beginning of hour number one, we're going to call it. Wait, is it? Oh, wow. We've already passed more than an hour. How many hours have we been on right now? So, he says, could one of those NFL players beat up a prime Mighty Mouse or a Pantoja? It would depend. You know what? My money on that would be towards a Pantoja and Mighty Mouse, but I think it would still be a very competitive fight. I mean, look, you've seen Mighty Mouse at an open weight tournament, right? You've seen him at an open weight tournament in a jiu-jitsu competition taking on a 6'8", 300-pound man, and he did pretty well, for a 5'3" man. So he says JJ looked like an alien. Mighty Mouse, and he would lose against Eddie Hall. Mighty Mouse said he would lose against Eddie Hall. Yeah, probably because Eddie Hall has a bit of some martial arts experience, right? I mean, obviously he trains with Tom Aspinall, right? The best heavyweight in the world. Well, maybe Francis Ngannou has to say something about it, but for just on paper and for record's sake, yeah, we'll say that he's the best heavyweight in the world right now, right? So the best heavyweight in the world like that, training with Eddie Hall, for sure he's going to be able to give him a good few pointers here and there, and and that's that. So, okay, 90 minutes into it, so I guess we could say this is what is 90 minutes? 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so 1 hour and 131. I'm going to call this, to snitch or not to snitch. Okay, because I have a story, an insane story to tell you about, what I heard this week, right? Some street stuff. And I want your opinions on this, right? Because the theme of this is to snitch or not to snitch. Okay, because yeah, this is going to get really interesting right here. He says, yeah, the size difference is just so much. Eddie is 350 pounds. All right, so yes, now let's transition from talking about DJ fighting huge, monstrous men to monstrous situations in people's lives, okay? So I got a story to tell you guys, right? I ran across a homie. Well, I don't know if I would call him a homie. Let's just say that we have mutual acquaintances, right? I ran across him in the gym this weekend, right? So I said, "What's up?" to him. "Hey, how you doing? You know, how's life? How's it going? You know, how are the kids?" Next thing you know, he tells me a story about a time where he got accused of being part of a 187. And guess what? This wasn't any normal 187. It involved a woman, an innocent woman. Okay, so this homie that I was having a conversation with, he was telling me about his homie who his girlfriend basically kicked him out of the house. Okay, called the cops on him over a domestic situation, and then that woman proceeded to bail him out of prison only to kick him out of the house. So what did he do in the process? He goes and asks some other random white woman, okay, to go drive him at his ex-girlfriend's place, walked in her car in the back seat and shot her in the back of her head. Okay? So now the homie that I was talking to, he told me that this guy who shot his girlfriend went to his house, took his car, and asked him, "Hey, can I park it in your garage?" He had no idea what was going on. Okay? He had no idea what was going on. He had no idea that he had shot this woman or this and that. So, next thing you know, one thing led to another. The cops came to his house, and now they wanted to charge him to become an accessory of murder. So, guess what he did? He ended up telling on his own homeboy. Now, here's a controversial part about it, right? Because I need you guys to understand, for those of you that are not, street savvy, I need you to understand this, right? You cannot snitch, but at the same time, you also can't harm innocent civilians. Well, what are innocent civilians in the gang world? Innocent civilians in the gang world are people who are women, children, elderly, right? So did he violate those rules? Well, here's the thing, right? If this woman obviously called the cops on him, then obviously we already know that she's not a gang member, right? Because we know that women that are in gangs are gangster bitches, right? What they will do is literally shoot you, stab you, or call somebody else to go and handle their candle upon you, right? Well, she didn't do any of that. She called the cops, got him locked up, but also bailed him out, only to show kind of a mercy towards him, and only for her to get shot in the end. And then my friend, well, guess what he did, right? Or not my friend, the guy that came and talked to me, right? He told me that he did tell. Okay, and his homies basically put him out of the hood. Okay, let's just I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to mention what hood this guy is from, but just for intensive purposes or just generalization. Okay, he came from a Crip neighborhood. Let's just put it like that, right? Came from a Crip neighborhood, but this happened in Sacramento. So, yeah. So just so you guys kind of follow and understand, where the story is at. So that's the controversy, right? Was he in line to snitch? Was it right for him to snitch on that situation? Now, look, here's the thing, right, with me, okay? I never want to be in that situation because you know what, man? That is a very difficult situation to be in. Because on the one hand, you can't harm innocent civilians, right? But on the other hand, you can't help the police in any kind of capacity whatsoever. This is why, look, these are one of those stories that, will make you think like, listen, kids, it's better that you stay in school. It's better that you, stay away from the streets. But guess what, man? Even if you stay in school like I did, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be around people like that because I've gone to college. I've been to college, and even after or before the fact, I was still around people like that. doesn't escape you. But just understand, man, that wow, what a very controversial situation to be in. So, he says, yeah, stay away from gangs. True. He says, put your murder vehicle in my crib. F out of here. He says, so Holloway is McGregor's happening. Yes. He Woke says, a real homeboy wouldn't get you involved in a mess. I agree with that as well. Yes. Depends if you're in a gang or not. If you're a civilian and you snitch away, you pay your taxes. Okay, he says, I'm back. This is interesting stuff. Okay, so here's the thing that I wanted to say about that, right? This guy that was talking to me, he was a gang member. The guy that told me look, you want my opinion on it? You know, the dude snitched. Okay, now prior to that, he was solid. He did everything right. He did everything correct. But all of a sudden, you know, this one homeboy, his own ex-girlfriend, and then tries to get him involved. I mean, look, it's one thing if you want your friends to be involved or help you do X, Y, and Z, right? Letting them know beforehand and then maybe even finding a way to assist you, right? But it's another thing to kind of, I don't know, like put them in that spot knowing that, you know, you got a hot car in front of you, maybe even a hot gun that came with it, only for him to get raided because, you know, he legitimately got raided. Because remember, this is how the snitching, you know, happened in the first place. So yeah, man, you know, he says, you think Conor, so this is my prediction. That is my prediction that Conor McGregor and Max Holloway are going to fight. That is the fight that they are working on right now. So if this fight doesn't happen, the one thing I need you guys to understand, right? If this fight doesn't happen, that is all predicated on Conor McGregor. Okay? I need you guys to understand that. If this fight doesn't happen, it is all predicated on Conor McGregor. Because let's be honest about this, right? Max Holloway, the dude wants this fight. He wants that redemption. He knows, and everybody knows, that he is a better fighter now in comparison to Conor McGregor, right? He is the much better fighter than Conor McGregor. He is a much more improved fighter than Conor McGregor, and he has had multiple fights, multiple 5 rounds over the span of 2021 all the way to 2026 right now. He has had more 5-round fights. He has had more practices in the bag. He's had more practices in the bag than Conor McGregor. He says, too many rematches, new blood. You know what? That's interesting that you said that. That's very interesting that you said that right there, Juice Man, right? So what I got to say to that is, right now, the older generation is trying to phase themselves out, right? So Conor McGregor is 37. Max Holloway is getting up there as well, right? But they're still legends of the game. They can still sell tickets. And for Max Holloway's case, they are still ranked in the top 10 in some kind of capacity, right? So with that, they have to phase them out or use them for the time being that they are here. Look, Khabib said something about Conor McGregor that I think was really profound, that I think, you know, kind of haunts the reality of Conor McGregor's career trajectory right now. It goes something like this, right? Conor McGregor is being exploited by the UFC in his very latter stages of his career, right? He is a circus, a very expensive circus for the UFC to have, and the UFC is just using him until they are done with him. That is what Khabib said about Conor McGregor, and that is exactly what they are doing with Conor McGregor, right? He says Max would eat him alive. He says, only fight I could see him returning is Nate Diaz. It's not just Nate Diaz, I don't think, you know, because Max Holloway is there. Look, in all honesty, if I was Conor McGregor's manager, right, I would think that this is a very bad idea, fighting Max Holloway. But here's the thing. Right now, his managers, El-Kheer, his trainers, John Kavanaugh, they don't really got a lot going on right now. Now, I know El-Kheer is a sports agent, right? The real life Arliss, the real life John McGuire or Jerry Maguire, right? Played by Tom Cruise in a movie, right? Super sports agent, right? He's got clients from the NFL, NHL, or this and that, right? So he's doing okay. John Kavanaugh, maybe he's doing okay because he owns a gym, but he doesn't have millionaire fighters like Conor McGregor. He doesn't have championship fighters like Ian Gary, right? Ian Gary is not part of SBG Ireland. And there's a reason why, Ian Gary is not training with SBG Ireland. There's a reason why he's training with other people around the world, okay? Because they're not a real championship gym. And guess what? What I'm trying to say is that everybody in Conor McGregor's corner right now is trying to push him into a fight. That is what they are trying to do. They are trying to push Conor McGregor into a fight because they want their bag. Dana White wants his bag. John Kavanaugh wants his bag. Audience here, why not? Conor McGregor bag ain't so bad, right? And LA is getting a little bit expensive to live. So he's motivated by that. Everybody that is involved in the Conor McGregor business is motivated and getting Conor McGregor back into the cage, regardless of the circumstances of how hard those matchups can be, and regardless of the circumstances of how detrimental to his health these fights can be, especially with a much sharper Max Holloway. Because yes, I agree, Nate Diaz would be a much better option. Here's the problem though. The politics at B did not allow Nate Diaz to come back to the UFC for whatever reason. And one thing led to another. He was captured by MVP. That's the name of the game, right? He got lost to the highest bidder, and the highest bidder was MVP. And MVP got Nate Diaz to sign and fight with Mike Perry. And as a result of that, that is what we have. And that's just the reality of the situation. He says, does he have 2 fights left on his contract? Yes, he does. He's got 2 fights left in his contract. He wants to fight in BKFC. And it's really going to be interesting how they're going to how these 2 contracts are going to go about. I don't think they're going to extend their contract with Conor McGregor. They're going to have 1 fight in July. So suppose he loses. Okay? What is my prediction of because he's going to lose. Let's just keep it real, guys. Let's keep it a buck. Conor McGregor ain't winning this. He ain't winning this. I told you from the beginning of the live stream, right? The only way that Conor McGregor would be able to win this fight is if he was to knock him out literally within the first round. Okay? After the first round, it's going to get much more difficult for Conor McGregor to do anything. Much more difficult. He's going to have a hard time trying to knock him out. And while he's trying to knock him out, he's going to get gassed because he's not a 5-round fighter. Look at the rounds that Max Holloway has been putting in. Look at the rounds. Look at the rounds that he's been putting in. Okay? The rounds that he has been putting in comparison to Conor McGregor, I think is going to be very detrimental for him here, man. I just don't have any confidence in Conor McGregor, and I think that everybody in Conor McGregor's corner is trying to use him as much as possible. That is what's going on here, guys. So you let me know if you see anything different. Yeah, just 2 fights left in his contract, guys. 2 fights left. What is he going to do with that? Okay, so the prediction that I have, right? He loses to Max Holloway. He loses to Max Holloway. After he loses to Max Holloway, he comes back for a November or a 2027 card, and then that will be his send off. So 2027 will be Conor McGregor's last UFC fight. So, in other words, and look, here's a shame about Conor McGregor's career, right? Here's a shame about Conor McGregor's career. You can't develop him, right? You need to put him in there with hard fights straight away, right? Like you can't have him lollygag about with, what do you call it? An easy Nate Diaz fight, because that's the easiest fight that he could make right now. Look at all the matchups that they've been trying to put Conor McGregor with, right? All the matchups that they've been trying to make were all hard matchups, right? They were either Max Holloway, they're very hard, Carlos Prates, very hard, very difficult, right? No easy matchups. No easy matchups for Conor McGregor. Because here's the thing. Between him and Jim Miller, you can actually give Jim Miller much easier matchups than Conor McGregor. You can't do that for Conor McGregor because he's too expensive. He is far too expensive. Oops. Sorry about that. He is far too expensive. Conor is far too expensive to have like an easy fight. Just far too expensive. All right, so I want you to imagine that, right? Conor McGregor is far too expensive to develop, which means that he is much easier to destroy. What do I mean by when I say that Conor McGregor is too hard to develop for the UFC, but much easier to destroy? Well, meaning that if you were to put him in a fight against, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, an easy fighter, it would not work, right? It would not do the good numbers that you think that it would do, but you would also have to put him against a very competitive fighter. So that means that he is much more lucrative to destroy at this point than he is to build up, right? Like you can't put him up in there against prospects. You got to put him up in there against dangerous names. Woke No Coke says, don't think Conor beats any fighters in a lightweight division in his current condition. Yup, I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, here's the thing, right? Conor McGregor has actually strung along a few good weeks of training camp, right? He's looking really good right now. He's staying focused. He's in camp. But the other criticism that I have of Conor McGregor's career is that he never extended himself to get better. What do I mean by that? Well, I just mentioned Ian Gary earlier on, right? What about Ian Gary? Ian Gary has gone out of his way to learn, to get better with a better team from across the world. Conor McGregor is not doing that. Conor McGregor is a pure definition of a front runner. What do I mean by that? Let me explain what I mean by that, right? How many people do you know? How many people do you know move out of your hometown and do great things out of your hometown, right? And then how many people do you know that stay in your hometown and build a business there? Maybe they went to college, got a degree, and got their job there. I don't know, maybe they got a local engineering job in the same town that you guys grew up at. Or maybe he, decided to open a doctor's office. For as great as of an education and opportunities that he had, he decided he wanted to do it in his own hometown, right? As opposed to, let's say, a surgeon, a doctor, or a plastic surgeon from your part of the world, your small town, decided to open, a practice in Miami, and now he's a millionaire because obviously it's, it's a hub for, well, people that are looking for self improvement or maxing in some kind of way, right? Conor McGregor is not the latter of that example that I mentioned. Conor McGregor is within the examples of people that feel comfortable just being in their hometown, not really extending themselves or challenging themselves. And realistically, all throughout his career, he got by with nothing but talent. That's the reality of Conor McGregor, guys. Conor McGregor got by through talent. He never got by through he never got by with with skills or hard work or having the right team around him. He got by with basically luck, the luck of the Irish. That was Conor McGregor in a nutshell. It was the luck of the Irish throughout his whole entire career. And the best way to end this live stream video is to end it like this, right? What comes up must come down. On his way up, he talked bad about Dustin Poirier, disrespected Dustin Poirier. Okay, same thing with Max Holloway, although not so much, right? Maybe he was a little bit more respectful in the Max Holloway fight. Disrespected him on his way up. But now, as soon as he ascended after the Max Holloway and after the Dustin Poirier fight, after that ascend, now he's coming back down. Okay, from the Mayweather loss, the Khabib loss, and now the two Dustin Poirier losses, and now the loss to Max Holloway. Now, what's going to happen after he loses? What is the next fight and the next course of action for Conor McGregor? Well, my prediction is that he's probably going to do another rematch with Max Holloway, right? It may come across as a very close fight. It may be a close fight, or it may be just a blowout where he sort of had a good account of himself, hit Max Holloway with a few good shots, almost got him out of there, but never got an opportunity to get him out of there. Maybe the next time around they fight. One of those fights that kind of gives you hope for the next fight coming around. So it's going to be Max Holloway 3, Conor McGregor, Max Holloway 3, just like it was Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor 3. And he's going to have 2 back-to-back losses, 4 losses in a row from the 2 guys that he used to get right back up on top. Now, how poetic is that? He says, luck, nah, man, he had great skill. Okay, yeah, they will feed him to the wolves if he returns, build fighters off of his name. Yes, and great striking. Okay, yes, those are all true. But just remember, whatever he had back then, he certainly doesn't have it now. And that is the reality of all of this right now. All right, guys, listen, that is all that I have for this one right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Is it true that Conor McGregor is going to come back? More than likely he will come back. But is he going to come back and fight Max Holloway? That's debatable. And if that is the case, and if that is the reality, and if that is what's going to happen, well, how will it pan out? Obviously, it's not going to pan out best for him, just based on everything that we know about mixed martial arts history and the history of Conor McGregor's well-being, on top of just what we know and what happens when former legends come back, at a certain time and for a long time in which they get rusty. So with that in mind, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one, inshallah. Actually, you know what, man? Hate love. I'll do another 5 minutes since you're here. We'll make it 2 hours. He says, Salam, Kyrie, brother. It's been a long time. Happy live. No, I'm too late. Nope. He says, I'll catch you in the next time. I'm going to watch this stream back. Yes. Do watch the stream back, but I will give about another 4 minutes or so, just to talk about just anything random, man. Let me know how your week went. We'll talk about the next fights that are coming up. Obviously, we got Protests and JDM coming up this weekend. And then the next weekend after that, yes, we have UFC 328. That's going to be an insane press conference that's going to be happening there. Obviously, you got Khamzat Chimaev. You got Sean Strickland. Very volatile situation. And of course, that's how we love it. That's how we love our MMA. We love our MMA extremely volatile. We love our MMA extremely unpredictable. And who better than Sean Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev to give you that? Anik MMA says, gonna be honest, Max don't deserve to fight Conor, but still a good fight. When you say that Max doesn't deserve to fight Conor, do you mean that because he lost to Charles Oliveira? Or is it that, I mean, competitive structure-wise, maybe he does deserve to fight him, right? Because it's not like Conor McGregor is going off of a win. Like, people talk about how Charles Oliveira should get the Conor McGregor fight, but it's like, you won and Conor McGregor lost. So in other words, it's like Conor is the one that doesn't deserve to fight Charles Oliveira. But certainly it is a good fight because of the loss that Max Holloway is coming off of, even though that he has a much better record and much better much better career at this point than Conor McGregor in terms of the names that he's fought and have stayed in there with. Hate Love says, sorry, bro. I've been really ill. I'll talk about it later. I'm more interested in your last few minutes of the stream. Thank you, man. He says, like and subscribe. Yes, man. So we got about 2 minutes. Just wanted to kind of really make this, 2 hours, to be exact. So, we're like just at hour number 1 with about 2 minutes left. But yeah, man, I really appreciate this, guys. I hope that you enjoyed my coverage of the potentiality. Remember, this is just a potentiality, right? But I'm going to go out of the limb and say that this is the matchup that they're going to make next because all signs point to it, right? Max Holloway, the way that he's been talking, the way that he was hinting, sort of, leads into that direction. And then for Conor McGregor, it's probably a fight that he believes he can win. He goes in there, beats Max Holloway at 170, 155, and perhaps maybe, you know what? This fight is going to be contested at 170 more than likely, right? So if it does, then Conor McGregor is going to have the advantage because he has the experience of fighting at 170. We don't know how quick or how slow Max Holloway is going to get at 170. Although 155 is a very perfect weight class for him. But then again, maybe Conor McGregor wants to test himself at 155 and once again regain that glory that he had back in 2016. GS Tattoo says, good seeing you talk about MMA instead of implementing Sharia law into our country. Okay, yes. He says, a few minutes ago, he says, GS, get your facts straight. When did you do that? Okay, he says a few streams ago. Yeah, man, we talk about everything here, but I am glad and happy that you do appreciate my MMA content. And with that in mind, guys, that is the MMA content that I have today. Not only did we cover Max Holloway, but I also did a story on, a homeboy snitching, and you guys might want to go check that out. I do have it on the timestamps if you want to rewind back and hear that story. Very interesting stuff. But with that in mind, that is all that I have. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will, inshallah. And GS says, I genuinely do. Inshallah, you come here more for the MMA topics that we're going to have in the future, and I will see you then. Have a good one, guys. God bless to all of you around the world. He says, thank you, Kyrie. Thank you, Hate Love. Shout out to you. And rewind this back from the very beginning, my man.